Hey guys, Josh here. So recently, Dinkum released in early access on Steam. It's a farming sim game set in Australia. It is a lot of fun and you should definitely check it out. I'm really enjoying my time with this game. However, there are quite a few things that the game doesn't tell you or things that I wish I knew earlier. So in this video, I'd like to tell you 10 beginner tips for Dinkum, and I hope these will make your first days in game a bit easier. Keep in mind that since this game is still in early access, some of these things may change as it evolves towards the full release. But if anything changes, if any of these tips is no longer working, I will make sure to leave a pinned comment to let you know. And with that being said, let's start. And my first tip is to take advantage of the first day. So time is actually stuck at 10 AM until you've placed the 3 first tent and spoke with Fletch, which means that you can spend as much time as you'd like to just explore the island in full daylight, collect resources like flowers, fruits, and seashells, and just get a feel for your island. Remember that islands are randomly generated, so feel free to restart to get a different one if you don't like it. Of course, you won't have any tools or weapons on this first day, so you won't be able to do everything, but you'll still be able to collect quite a few things to eat or to sell. Also, if you die at this point, don't worry too much. You will of course still lose a percentage of your money, but since you only start with 250 dinks, it's really not a big deal. And when you spawn back, it will still be 10 AM and you will be able to keep exploring and just collect more things. So if you're looking for a bit of a smoother start, I definitely recommend you take advantage of that infinite 10 AM on the first day. Similarly, since time is at a stop when you start, think carefully about where you want your base to be before you place it. If you want to move your house later on, it will cost 25,000 dinks and you'll need to upgrade it first, which costs 95,000 dinks. In other words, it will be pretty expensive to move your house, and on top of that, keep in mind you'll have to place the base tent, which will eventually become the town hall, and you also have plenty of shops to place as well, and moving them is 25,000 dinks each. And as for me, I made the mistake of placing everything right where I started until I realized I didn't really want to have my town there, and I paid the price to move everything to somewhere else, and it was a bit of a pain. And for the longest time, I had kind of 2 bases as I was moving things. So I recommend you take some time to think about where you want your base to avoid that kind of situation. And a few things to consider when looking for a location is that each biome offers different resources. So a central position could be convenient so you can get to everything pretty quickly. But also keep in mind that biomes like the pine forest and the tropics have aggressive animals spawning there, so they may not be the safest. Unless you're really looking for a challenge, I think you don't want dangerous animals roaming around your house. I find that the bushlands or the deserts are generally pretty safe. Just keep an eye out for the crocodiles, but once you have a weapon, they're really not too bad and you can easily protect your town from them by elevating the shore. Another thing to know is that near the north, south, east, and west extremities of the map will be towers that can be used for fast travels once you repair them. So I think it could be a good idea to be near one of those towers, but in the end, it's really up to personal preference. There's no right or wrong place to put your base. But for me, I just finished moving to this little island because I think it looks cute, but just take some time to think about it. There's really no rush on the first day. The first day is the only one, as far as I know, that gives you infinite daylight, but just like in the classic Harvest Moon on the SNES, nights in Dinkum don't end until you go to bed or run out of energy. So after midnight, the clock will display late instead of the actual time, and at that point your maximum stamina will decrease drastically, so I wouldn't recommend going too far from your base, but you can still do a few things that don't consume stamina, and the night will keep going for as long as you'd like. For example, you could organize your chest, do some crafting, melt ores into bars, cook your food, which by the way I recommend you always cook food as it will be more nutritious and valuable, and other little chores like this. Keep an eye on your energy as you won't have a lot, and if you do pass out you will lose some of your money and the durability of your tools will decrease, but you can take as much time as you want to do simple tasks. As I just said, passing out will make you lose a portion of your money, and your tools will also suffer from it, losing about a third of their durability. One thing that seems pretty obvious, but I didn't think of it at first, so I'm guessing I'm not the only one. But if you don't need a tool, for example, if you're going mining, you probably won't need your fishing rod, bug net, or axe. You can just put them in a chest or a crate, and they won't lose their durability if you happen to pass out. And you can also grab the money out of your inventory and put it in a chest. You will unlock a bank later in game. I don't have it yet, I'm not sure how it works, But if you're going out and you don't want to risk losing any money, put it in a chest and you won't go broke for passing out. And this leads me to my next tip. You could put money or valuable items in any chest, but keep in mind that they cannot be locked, so if you're playing in multiplayer, anyone could take your stuff, whether it is by accident or not. However, if you go in the base tent, you will find a travel bag, which is a chest unique to each player. So if you put your money and most valuable items in that chest, in that travel bag, there's no risk of anyone taking them. You'll also have access to that same travel bag if you play on a friend's island, so it's a very convenient way to bring some items over. I like to put a few tools and some food in there, as well as my jet ski, so if I visit a friend, I have everything I need in there. Keep in mind, your regular inventory carries over as well, but it's nice to have this as a backup inventory. Also, I recommend everybody to try out the multiplayer if you have not already. It can be a bit glitchy at times. Keep in mind this game is still in early access, but for the most part, it was pretty smooth and really a lot of fun. There is an official Dinkum Discord if you're looking for people to play with. We also have a Discord for this channel if you want to find out not only friends for Dinkum, but all other farming games. So I will put the links in the description. I promise you'll have a really good time playing this game in co-op. Now let's talk about the map. So your island has a pretty good size, and it might take a while before you know where everything is. And while some things like the shops and your house will have markers added automatically, you can also add your own markers. Simply left click anywhere on the map and you will have a selection of custom markers to pick from. Things like ores and animals will usually respawn around the same areas, so it is a good idea to mark it on your map once you stumble across something interesting. That way you can easily come back in the future. Also, if you left click on any marker, it will add it to your minimap, so you don't have to check the big map every time you try to get there. And you can also remove custom markers simply by right clicking on them. Also, if you're confused by the minimap always rotating as you move, there is a setting in the menu that makes it so it always points north. You might want to check it out. I think it's pretty useful. The next tip is something that should be incredibly obvious, but I had no idea how to do it until someone told me on stream, and that's how to plant bushes and trees. As you play, you will collect many types of seeds, nuts, and fruits, and for some of them, when you take a look at them in your inventory, it will say bury. And you may have tried different things, but here's how to plant them properly. So you first need a shovel, which can be bought from John. Then you need to dig a hole with the shovel. Then you grab your seed and you drop it. So if you play with a keyboard, Q should be the default key for that. So once the seed is in the hole, simply use your shovel to put the dirt back into the hole. And you should see a little sapling right away. Wait a few days and it will grow. Things planted this way don't have to be watered, so yeah, that's how you plant bushes and trees. If you just started playing and you're also wondering how to plant crops and do proper farming, you will have to wait until rain visits your island, and then you'll be able to buy a watering can, a hoe, and seeds from her. But in the meantime, you can plant wattle or brush flowers, fruit trees, and make some food or money from those. So that's for seeds. Now let's talk about the animals. So once you have the handling license and Irwin visits your island, you will be able to buy some animals from him, starting with the chooks, which are Dinkum's versions of chickens. But before you get too excited and buy your first animal, here's something to remember. You've probably noticed that in this game, animals do eat each other. So if crocodiles can eat jackaroos, they can certainly eat chooks as well. So my tip is to make sure you build some kind of fencing where you want your animals to be, and make sure that there are no wild animals, of course, in your fence. And if they somehow do manage to escape, or if you need to move your animals somewhere else, press enter on your keyboard. You will see an icon for a whistle. If you click on that, it will call all of your animals that are nearby and they will go towards you. I didn't know that at first, so I really struggled with my first chook. It was just running around everywhere. So learn from my mistakes and make sure you have some fences and make use of your whistle. Also, in a worst case scenario where you lost your animals, you can't bring them back home, or they're stuck somewhere and you know it will not end well, if you go to the animals page in the menu, you can sell them, which is always better than letting them get eaten by crocodiles. As you explore the island, from time to time you will encounter some big items that your character will carry over their head. So sometimes they can be fossils, ember chunks, eggs, beehives, or rubies if you're in the mines. So once John opens his permanent shop, there will be a scale near the counter. Simply head to the shop with these big items, drop them on the scale. John will weigh them and give you some money. If the shop is closed, simply leave the items outside and they will still be there the next day. Here's a few things you might want to know for the beehives, which appear randomly when you cut down trees. If you don't want to sell them, you can break them, which will allow you to get honey or even some queen bees, which is needed to craft a beehive. If there's a thunderstorm, you can find some thunder eggs. I've not found one of those yet, but if you break them, you will get 4 opals, which sell for 15,000 dinks each, for a total of 60,000 dinks. So if John appraises your thunder egg for less than 60,000 dinks, just break it and sell the opals instead. Lastly, for the rubies, make sure you put them in the elevator before you leave the mine. The mine will reset every day, but the contents of the elevator will remain, so just bring rubies inside the elevator as soon as you see them and they will be safe. And now my last tip is how to get an infinite amount of dirt. I had to do a little bit of terraforming before moving my town to the little island it's on now. And at first I didn't like the idea of having to take all the dirt from one place and kind of ruining the area in order to make my town prettier. However, it turns out there is actually a way of getting an infinite amount of dirt, which makes it so you don't have to travel as much and you don't have to destroy Mother Nature's work. Simply dig a hole straight down and eventually you will start getting dirt, but the hole won't get any deeper. So you can get as much dirt as you'd like, and then when it's time to fill the hole, simply take out enough dirt to fill it back. Usually between 5 and 10 should be enough depending on the elevation, and just fill it back. Just be careful not to fall into the hole, as getting out can be a bit difficult, but if you don't want to risk falling, you can also do this trick in shallow waters where you can still use your shovel, but you will be able to swim back up in case you get in the hole. So that's just some of the beginner tips and tricks I have right now for Dinkum. I hope you were able to learn a few things. If you know some good tips about this game, please feel free to share them with everybody in the comments. If you'd like to see more Dinkum content, if there are things you'd like me to make videos on, please let me know. I will definitely keep covering this game in the future. You can subscribe if you don't want to miss out, and I'll see you all in the next video.